2001.
So it's 14 years old?
15.
15. And it's got how many miles?
74,000. Over half of its life, it wasn't driven very much.
It's 4,933 miles a year. The only vehicle I own has 91,000 miles on it. I can't see it. No more miles than we put on these trucks. I don't see any use in buying a new truck at all for anything.
Well, does it have to be four-wheel drive?
I put the recommendation, does it have to be at this time? No. I put the recommendation for four-wheel drive due to the fact of we're hoping for at least another 15 years for this pickup, and who knows what that may bring. And I myself have gotten into places with the Dodge I probably shouldn't have been. You know, one of those things, if you have it, great. If you don't have it, you're out of luck. And in the end, its trade-in value is going to be higher too. And for the $2,000 difference, I thought it, made sense to go ahead and go with the four-wheel drive.
And what about I guess I'm, like Bob, what do you need extended cab one for? 'Cause
This pickup, well, I
you mean you
oversee.
ain't putting any miles on it, why do you need all that extra luxury?
Okay, let me try to explain. The 2001 Dodge, figure about 3/4 of its life, it hardly got any miles put on it. When Councilman Luttrell was, had the pickup, and further on, it's just since Kendall Francis and myself that we use the pickup constantly, that it's gotten more miles put on it. So you can expect more miles to be put on over a year. The reason I opted to go with a crew cab is, of the 4 departments I oversee, at least 3 of them all have to go to schools, conferences, training and stuff, and this is the vehicle that goes out of town all the time. So it's available for all 4 of the departments I oversee to go out of town, and needs to be, a good shape and have the room. I'm not, except for midsection, I'm not a very big person, but in the Dodge, I'm cramped up to my knees with it, and that's what they call a quad cab. The 4-door, it's kind of a 4-door extended cab, and being not a very big guy, I'm cramped clear up to my knees. I sit in the back because I'm usually the smallest guy there, so that's why I opted to go with a crew cab.
Matt?
Clint, isn't that what we have a Yukon for traveling to conferences and stuff?
Well, yeah, they use that at Parks and Rec every day, though. They're constant. Well, if you take that away from them, then they don't have it. Yeah, we do use that. Other people, Leadership Mitchell County, use that every year on their trips, and I've used it a couple times, not much, but so yeah, there is a vehicle for that, but that's getting kind of an old vehicle too. I'm not sure what year it is, but it's starting to show with its age. It has had alignment problems for a long time.
So how soon before we have to replace that one?
I don't know. I don't know if we put a year on that. Yeah, but once you get over 15, 20 years, the trucks start to get. Man, most of the pickup trucks will last you. That's why traditionally like them.
Like I say, when we get into, I guess we're going to discuss in the work session whether we're even going to have a water wastewater department in the near future. So I just can't see this kind of money.
Tonight?
Yep.
We just want to do some discussion
Some discussion.
on some options. Nothing's gonna happen, just some discussion.
Saying,
It wasn't on there.
it's not in the agenda that we're having.
No, it's not in there.
Well, let's, somebody can make a motion to approve or disapprove, and
I make a motion we table.
I moved by Councilman Peterson that we table it, second by Councilman Brown. Any further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor of tabling it, raise your right hand. Thank you. We'll table it. Those against, I guess, are in court, so, okay, this will be tabled. Moving on in our agenda, the line truck bid for the amount of $303,169, and a finance bid from the state bank, from the Garrity State Bank to finance it at 2.237% for 60 months, and allow the mayor and city clerk and Mayor Lomax to sign the lease agreement. Questions, comments for staff?
Ronnie, is this a bucket truck or just a line truck for?
It's a line truck, but we bought the adapter to put a bucket onto if we need to.
What kind of shape are we in as far as a bucket truck? That's fairly new, isn't it?
2017, we're gonna have to look at updating one of them if we stay with that 20-year rotation.
With this in here, you wouldn't be using daily as a bucket truck, right? I mean,
No,
just have the capability of.
its capability, I don't remember what year it was, but we had a storm go through, and one of our bucket trucks was broke down, and we needed another one at that time, and we didn't have it. And this is my own fault. I did a bunch of pole climbing with tennis shoes on, and I hope I learned my lesson and I'll do it again. So it's worth that much to me.
Now, the truck we had, what's the status? Is he gonna go somewhere or?
The old one,
Yeah.
on Purple Wave, all they're getting is $1,000, and it's worth that much to keep it here. And once it goes down, if it gets too costly to fix, junk it.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
How soon before you take delivery of a new one?
They said 6 to 8 months after we ordered, so it's gonna be a while.
How old is the one that you're replacing it with?
It's a 77, so over 30 years old.
Give us an age on it. I entertain a motion to accept the bid for the line truck for $303,169.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Brown that we accept the bid for the line truck for $303,169, and from the Garrity Bank to finance it for 2.237% for 60 months, and allow Mayor Nas and Clerk Lomax to sign the agreement. Second by Councilman Audi. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda this evening is a circuit protection relays for the 13th Circuit from Mid-States Energy in the amount of $50,390. Questions or comments from staff or for staff?
Ronnie, what are the, you got your sales here, is this just showing what goes through these, is that?
Yeah, it gives you a lot of information. I forget when we made up that deal on stuff that we need to update as we progress. This was on that list.
This is
thing-
just for reference of how much use it gets.
Yeah, and it shows us the faults, and if you can read everything on it, it'll tell you what the fault is and what time.
What area of town is Circuit 13 protected?
Well, that's 13 relays, it's not circuit 13, okay? It's gonna be a new relay for every circuit we have,
Oh.
so.
I'd move that we approve the 13th Circuit Protection Relay.
Second.
Motion to approve the bid for the circuit relays for the Mid-States Energy in the amount of $50,390 by Councilman Miller. It was seconded by Councilman Richard. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda this evening is
So
adjournment.
moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Brown that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Richard. Any discussion? No discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We're adjourned. We'll go into the work session and Katie, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Glenn?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
One last PowerPoint presentation, I enjoy it so much. I'm gonna blind you here for a second. They'll actually work from here. And this afternoon.
You're sitting here last 5 years.
It is, yeah. The last 7 years. You're absolutely right. That's what we're doing.
One shiny moment.
Yeah, what?
Basketball tournament.
Yeah, something like that. Well, hold on a second. No, I don't want to screen. Get that light there, I mentioned. Yeah, I can't see my, here if you do that, so just back a second here. Yeah. Yeah, you can't read that, sorry. Whoa, yeah, it's all right, this is where we've been. 2000, or actually it's 2007, 2016, but anyway, we'll look through this, see some of this before. It's the public facility we worked on here really since about 2009. You can see, we started the swimming pool, and then Mill Street course was ongoing, and we finished that a couple of years ago, finally. And we had the power plant, the tower, catalytic converter that went along with that, new water lines that took all the rust and dirt out of it, remember that? And of course, the runway expansion is continuing. They did the dirt work this year, and they'll come back and do the concrete work next year. So that's what's going on. The East Main, of course, we talked about that. Stuart is still doing the engineering on that, and he'll have something here coming forward, I'm sure, this spring on that. K-14, since I've been here, we've worked on that 4 different times, and we have that one going forward that you know is coming at you in the spring. They're rebidding that here in February, so that continues to roll ahead. The grant-funded projects, the ones I can think of, we have the housing block grant, which is still ongoing as far as the demo and the rehab. We got the 400,000, a little over 400,000 for that. Downtown, we just talked about that tonight. That was a pretty lengthy project, a little longer than we thought, but very successful helping the businesses downtown. So safe routes to school, we got that coming up here this spring. We got $200,000 for that. And of course, the airport runway again was $2.4 million. K-14 again, that's where it kind of breaks down here. We thought we'd finish that in 2015, but because of the way the bids came in, it's extending into 2016. So that's how it breaks down as far as the financing on that. And there's also at the airport, $2.4 million, our share roughly about 300,000 on that, and that's the length of it and the width of it. Basically will give you the ability to land bigger planes out there. That's what it's all about. North Campus had a lot of work. Of course, we inherited that in 2010, and these are all the things that have come out of the North Campus so far. There'll be more. Of course, we did win the award here last week for that street out there and those public improvements. These are all things that we got so far out there on that, and I think it'll develop, of course, more, and especially on the housing side and the commercial side, we've been hopefully getting more people involved in that. So, North Campus streets, of course, we went through that. Our original estimate was 1.4, 1.5 really for when we started out in that, and the bid came in around $1 million, so that was great. And so that's what we won that award on there. That came out of the bond issue that we did. Of course, the Silver Fox Estates up there, they've got 4 houses under construction right now, and 2015, going to 2016, there'll be more. We got plenty of room to grow up there. And of course, East Main, we're looking at 1.7, and then of course, that'll be where we'll hopefully get that done here next year. And the water projects, we've had the cast iron pipes replaced here, and we had a little bit of a rate increase on that, but wasn't terrible. But that's going to be going forward. Water is going to probably be one of the next big projects for the White, really for the entire area. The state, of course, the whole region has been in a drought for a long time now. We're fortunate we do have the second largest lake in the state of Kansas, so the quantity is there. The quality, though, has been the issue, and mainly, Trek Engineering, along with Schwab Eaton, has kind of identified this as an algae bloom, and they went through that presentation here a couple months back, and they're going to have, I think, more of a definitive proposal here coming shortly in the spring. And since they gave the presentation, honestly, we haven't had a lot of the taste and odor issues, strangely, that we've had in the past. We're not sure exactly why that is, but it's still a problem out there. We know that will come back at some point. when you remember, the options ranged from $1 million, you know, on this thing, all the way up eventually to, and there's the plants and improvements there. Option one, he said 1.5 up to $2 million, and then advantages and disadvantages to that. That'd be kind of a temporary fix, because you're still gonna have a water plant that's older than I am. So it's getting up there. Option two is, of course, a little more expensive, but still, it probably won't fix all your problems. Option three, of course, is gonna be more and more expensive as you go, and option four, you know, it's gonna be the full, you know, new plant, anywhere from $8 to $11 million. The numbers start to get scary at that point, but I think the saving grace of this, if there is one, is that if you go to the highest dollar one, it will, certain this one will actually solve the problem. The other ones, I don't know in the long term whether it's gonna really solve the problem, those algae blooms, and all the other problems that you have, taking water out of the river and whatnot. I think the ultimate solution is to form a regional water district, which we've talked about on and off for probably a good 5 or 6 years now. I know our water districts around us are interested in that, and I think that should continue to be the discussion out here, because I think the state would like to see us do that. The other thing to keep in mind here is, even though the numbers look big, USDA does have a grant/loan program out there. We probably would qualify for a good portion of the loan. USDA in the past has not always been the quickest to work with, but I would encourage you to hang with them because of the loan portion of that. And, you know, Doug McKinney and his folks over there at North Central Regional Planning do a lot of work with USDA and with the state, KDHE, and whatever. They can certainly help out when it comes to making that application. They got much more experience there than I do on USDA and that sort of thing. So I think it's a doable project. It's just, you know, you're gonna have to decide at some point exactly where you wanna go with this one, because it'll be a huge decision that impacts the entire region out here for decades to come. So you need to do it right. The power plant, we've upgraded a lot of things. We put over $4 million into it over the past few years, and there's just a lot of things that needed to be done out there. The next sort of big thing that's coming, well, there's a lot of things. Ronnie has a forever list of things that need to be upgraded in the plant or in the distribution. You saw a little bit of that tonight. Everything's extremely expensive in the electric world. That's just the way it is. You can't get away from that. But in about 3 years, you're gonna have another power supply, baseload power supply contract coming due. Sounds like it's a long way away, but it is not. 2-3 years is actually a very short time to negotiate a power supply contract. What that basically means is right now you're being served through KMEA's Energy Project 2 is what they call it. And actually right now we're actually being more served through the Southwest Power Pool, if it really gets down to that. The small power pools really function, but they're within a much larger power pool, and I won't get into all that. What you're gonna have to do going forward is make some choices again on what your base load power is gonna be. You'll always have your plant, because we've upgraded that and all that, but right now it's operating as a peaking plant. We don't run that every day like it was 30, 40 years ago. So you're buying power off the grid, and the question is gonna be, who do you buy it from? And there's a lot of options out there going forward, but that'll be sort of the next big thing to do in the next 2-3 years to get that locked down. Power right now is relatively cheap because natural gas, all the fracking that's going on from North Dakota all the way down through Oklahoma. And so you have a plentiful supply of that, and wind power is coming out more and more in Kansas every day. There's another wind power project seems to be coming up about every month now. So those have been driving the cost of power down, which is a great thing. So you gotta look into your crystal ball when you get here in the next couple of years though, because you're projecting out usually about 20 years on your long-term contract. And who knows how we'll be generating power. I think you'll still have natural gas. I think you'll still have some coal. Don't know about nuclear power. And you'll still have a lot of wind power. Who knows with solar in the future. But there'll be proposals coming at you. So that's kind of it for that. Those, like I said, the next big things to I think worry about and point out are the things that you always have to, and that's your major utilities, the major infrastructure that you have. We committed a long time ago to public power, which is great. A lot of small cities in Kansas do have public power, and I would we encourage you to continue to support your public power. That's a great asset for the city to have. And of course, then the water is gonna be probably the biggest issue the city's gonna face going forward here. And that will impact, like I said, this region for decades to come, so anyway, I think that's it, yeah. Well, housing, we had the Crown Homes out there, I remember that project a few years back, came in and put those affordable housing out there, and we've had some other successful on that. Cherry Street, which was kind of a little smaller project, but we got that going out there. And so housing will continue to be a huge need as we go, yeah.
Whatever happened to that deal on the Crown Housing deal, they come in bragging about this and that, and how they wanted to build a park at one of them developments. Why didn't they ever fall through on all that?
I don't know, I haven't heard from them in a long time, to tell you the truth.
Remember when they were promoting?
Yeah, I do remember that.
As ever, yeah, that's a big deal
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
I haven't thought about that in a long time. Yeah, I don't think they ever followed through and did that. Yeah, okay, all right, well, good point. But anyway, yeah, we've gone through, and housing will be a huge need going forward. We hear that from our employers all the time. This is gonna be hard to read, but you can read on the paper copy a little more. This is kind of the business expansions we've seen over the past 5 or 6 years. You just kind of total those up. And it comes over $35 million in a short period of time here in a small town. That's a huge impact here on people, private sector, and some of those are public sector. We put the school in there too as a business. But that's a lot of investment in a small town in a short period of time. It really is. Where a lot of other cities, rural Kansas, rural America, are struggling to keep the doors open, to keep people, keep the population. We have a stable population. We're not growing by leaps and bounds, but that's a lot of expansion. That's a lot of people investing in your community because they believe that we're a good market, and there's a lot of good things happening. They believe in the future here of Beloit, and that's, I think, a great thing for the city to go forward here. In the end, that's what it's all about. That's why we're making all those investments in the water, sewer, electric, and all that, is to have people then come in the private sector and make their investments too, whether it's housing or the businesses or whatever. So, you know, that's something I think the city can really be proud of here as our technical college grows, our school system grows, our hospital has been growing, and you know, we've had many advantages here that many do not. So anyway, I think that's it. Yeah, we're back to square one on that. So anyway, thanks for sitting through that. That's kind of you know, kind of where we've been. And like I said, the big things going forward will be those huge questions going forward on that, especially on the infrastructure side. And so, gotta make the right decisions on that. We have in the past. I think we made some really good decisions as far as how to upgrade, and you know, the time has been right as far as the financing goes. Interest rates have been low, and we've been able to take advantage of that. And we've got great bids in the past on almost all those projects that we're doing, whether they're street projects or whatever. So hopefully that will continue. So sort of the last thing to leave you with is one thing that Bob was talking about earlier, as far as the future of, you know, different departments or something like that. So if you wanted to, there are people out there who do services and whatever for you, and they can do that. I don't know what your thought is here on that. We kind of talked about that over the past few years or whatever, so.
Lynn,
Yeah.
did you ever get a final bid from that other gas company on that? gas
Black Hills, I did not. I'm still working on it. I'm hopefully gonna do that by the time I leave here on Friday, to see what their pipeline, you talk about the pipeline to the plant, yeah. They gave us one a couple of years ago, and then K-Gas came in and gave us that 1.1. And so, in the past couple of years, you know, I think the prices have probably changed. So we'd like to see what they're at on this point, so we can sort of have a final decision if there is going to be one on whether to go ahead with that pipeline or not, see if that's actually worth it. Yeah, the 1.1 million, I can't recommend it. It's just too expensive for how many times we use it, and you know, it's just, because you can't run it on diesel as well as natural gas. I'd love to have it in, but that just seems to me that's a little bit overpriced at this point, so whatever. But anyway, you got
This
some
is,
questions about
when we first addressed this a couple of years ago at one of the retreats, and you'd mentioned having these people come down and give us a presentation. Where are we at with them?
They still can do that, yeah. They still can do that if you want to
Could
do
you
it.
get something scheduled or?
Sure, they can be down here for the next meeting if you want to.
Why don't you go ahead, and that way we can bring
Okay.
the whole council up to speed
Yeah.
and where we're at, and what some options are. It's just, I think it's something we continuously have to look at in our operations to, whether it be an improvement or a money-saving operation, but I think it's something that, it was the same company we had, how many years ago was that? Wasn't it Glenn, didn't they come out and visit?
4 or 5 years ago, I forget.
Yeah, is it People Service?
Yeah.
Yeah, People Service. I was here the other time, and they run water plants and water treatment plants for other communities in Missouri, and I think in Iowa. And,
Before I got on.
Yeah, I believe it was,
Yeah.
yeah. I believe it was.
So, I think it'd be nice to set through that presentation that's maybe updated on our facilities and things that they do, can do, might not be able to do. But I think as a governing body, we need to look at those kind of things for our community. Whether, if we can improve service or whether it's save money or just, there's a lot of things that we need to look at in a lot of areas as we continue to move forward. And I think a presentation from them would be very educating.
Thank you.
That study on the water they're doing, is there anything on that pipe from the lake down?
Yeah, that could be part of that project. We know that the price on that is about $1.9 million to build a pipe directly from the lake to our plant as it is right now. So that would be part of the project. That's why that option is nearing $10 million or $11 million on that side, because it involves a pipeline and a treatment plant and everything else. So you're bypassing all the stuff that you deal with in the river and everything else. And the reason why they do that is they're not exactly sure where that algae bloom or blooms. We're not sure we're dealing with one or two, or there's multiple ones as you come down the river or in the lake. And who knows going forward where that'll happen. It's tough to know. But that would be the maximum solution, if you will, on that. It would eliminate really all that potential for that sort of thing.
So, Matt?
Between now and the arrival of your replacement, your interim guy, who's gonna be putting together the packets and getting the stuff on the agenda first? Is that gonna be Mandy or?
Yeah, she does a lot of it now, to be honest with you, but, yeah, I depend on her for a lot to do that. So she can do that, and the department heads can do that, whatever, but it probably won't look exactly the same or whatever, but they can handle a lot of that as they go. Training to a point where they can probably do a lot of that.
Who's gonna step up and make the recommendation?
You'll have to take recommendations from them, yeah, I mean, no, at any time, you can make recommendations. Yeah, I mean, you won't have that piece to it, it'll be, until somebody else is here, that'll be a missing part of it there, so. Actually, I think it was a little more burden on the council itself at that point to deal directly with those issues.
Speaking for myself, I would like to see department heads come to each meeting and give us kind of an update about what's been going on in their department in the interim between being an interim.
Glenn's out here. Yeah, after some administrator. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a way to go about that. It doesn't have to be always real formal, but maybe part of the discussion or whatever that you have, either in the work session or as staff reports, and we open up. And that's just not me. I mean, we've always had other departments do staff reports.
Could you bring that up to your staff and?
Yeah, we talk about tomorrow.
That
We have
request
that
tomorrow morning.
We got one last meeting with them tomorrow morning.
Shot at it.
I mean, nothing formal.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be,
15 to 30 minutes.
Right, yeah, no, it's been,
Just think different things that are going on.
right.
How about having written from each department head and be present to ask questions, then they wouldn't have to give.
Yeah, so they can have it in our packet.
Right, yeah.
I think
It's
that's-
important to keep those
speeds
projects,
it.
and that's the reason I kind of went through this. You need to keep those in front of you so you don't lose track of them, because it's easy to do. And then it's easy for those things to fall by the way. And typically, that's why things don't get done. It's not that people don't want to do them, it's that they get overwhelmed with other things, they get sidetracked, and other projects come up, and then things get forgotten. And that's typically what happens in almost every city and county, to be honest with you. Something else takes precedent, and so you need to have that written documentation, you need to have that constant conversation going with the department heads and with the council, and however form you want to take that. So, yeah, that'd be a great way.
We have a good staff and they'll help us bridge that gap.
Yeah, so it's good, yeah, the format may be a little different, but not, I don't think radically different from what you're used to. And hopefully we'll get somebody at least come out interim, and then there'll be a long-term, search going on here for permanent replacement on that then too,
So
so.
we can go ahead and put it out there in the, like, league publications.
Yeah, I actually contacted them today about that, yeah, because I don't think between now and the elections, we talked about, you really probably don't want to hire somebody before the next election here in the spring, but I don't think you can actually do that, going through the process now, getting interviews and whatever. I don't think we can probably, actually get that all done, so probably the next couple of weeks would be a good idea to get that out there.
And so if we have an interim that we get selected, we would have a special meeting and.
Yeah, I think that'd be, yeah, as soon as you could, you could get that in there. Like I said, John said he was gonna contact a couple more people that he knew who could be interested in it, because the first one backed out, basically we're just too far. He lives too far east in the state, so he didn't wanna come as far west,
Yeah.
so that's the only reason why he decided not to do it, so, well.
And the customary compensation for the interim, is that just they pick up your salary in your absence?
They should actually give you a proposal, because a lot of them have a sort of set price for what they work for. Either it's, hourly